welcome along to Oulton Park for our third event of the season in the Milltek Sport Civic Cup, and we are about to bring you live coverage of the qualifying session, a 15-minute session that will set the grid for the first race coming up later on today. The Civic Cup drivers having two 15-minute races here on the Oulton Park Island circuit, the middle of the three layouts available here at Oulton Park, and a circuit that always does produce really close races, not always the easiest of places to overtake at, but certainly last year when the Civic Cup most recently raced here at Oulton Park, they put on a great show for us, so looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us today. As you can see, the final preparations being done to the cars down in the assembly area before they head out onto the circuit, waiting for the previous session on track to finish, and then they will make their way out. It's Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box talking you through all of the action. I'll be joined by Paul O'Neill for the races later on in the day, and it's this man, Alistair Camp, who joins us as the championship leader then, joint championship leader actually, because he and Matt Luff both have 116 points arriving here at Oulton Park. Alistair Camp having claimed 2 race victories. Matt hasn't actually won a race yet, but has been Mr. Consistent, rarely finishing outside of the top 3 or 4 positions, whereas Alistair's performances, certainly at the start of the year at Cadwell Park, were a little more inconsistent when he had a slightly iffy first race of the year in particular. Bounced back there and got a pair of victories last time out at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit, did Alistair, and so the reigning champion, car number 1, is going to be one of the favourites coming here to Oulton Park this weekend. Matt Luff second in the championship. It's the Welshman George Alt Williams who sits third in the points, with Ryan Bensley 4th and Max Lewis rounding out the top 5. But as you can see, it's another busy grid of cars here at Oulton, and it's going to be tricky in a 15-minute session actually to get yourself up to speed properly and find that clear track that you need in order to set a quick lap time. These cars, of course, all run on a sort of semi-slick tyre, a Goodyear tyre, and those tyres therefore aren't quite as temperature sensitive as full racing slick would be, but it's still important to get the pressures into the right operating window, and in preparation for a qualifying run and on a lap that is of a decent length. We're talking a minute and a half or more for a lap time around here, I'd imagine, in a Civic Cup car. It's not always the work of a moment to get yourself into clean air and the pressures in the right window, and then hook together a perfect lap around what is a very difficult circuit to master. So Alfie Threlfall there in the number 66 car. Alfie was one of the front runners in the production class last season, and the production class again coming into this weekend is very finely poised. We've got a joint 2 drivers sharing the championship lead in the Cup class. We've also got 2 drivers sharing the championship lead in production as well. Alfie Jenkins and Dave Marshall are your joint production class championship leaders on 131 points apiece, with Louis Hounsell in third on 108. So pretty tight at the top, and actually Mark Hughes on 93 isn't a million miles back either. So those 4 establishing themselves as the front runners in that production class for cars that are, as the name suggests, much more production based and are therefore a little bit more affordable, a great entry level into the Civic Cup, because once you get into the Cup class you really are racing against some very talented drivers who compete for very talented teams, and it's not easy to jump into that Cup class immediately and be competitive. That is though something that the man we just saw there, Jack Harding, has managed to do. Jack Harding in the number 43 car, who was a multiple race winner in the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup, rear-wheel drive open-top sports cars, making the transition into the Civic Cup last time out actually at Brands Hatch, and was immediately inside the top 10. So Jack Harding, one to watch I think as we prepare for this qualifying session. So we've got cars waiting then to head out onto the circuit. They're just starting to pull out of the assembly area now and into the pit lane exit. Ryan Bensley, I can see out of the commentary box window, has positioned himself perfectly at the front of the queue, so he should at least be able to get some clean air at the start of the session, but it's hard to pick a pole position favourite here. I know that normally you look for the likes of Alistair Camp and Matt Luff, who were the top 2 in the championship last year, to be the favourites, but there are enough other drivers out there who have proven already this season that they're capable of taking the fight to them. and it's going to be interesting to see which of them does manage to come out on top in this 15-minute qualifying session. So we're going to throw to a very, very quick ad break, and we'll be back with all of the live qualifying action here from the Milltek Sport Civic Cup in just a moment or two.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
So, cars heading out onto the circuit now then for this 15-minute qualifying session in the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. And this an important session then around a circuit at which track position is notoriously important. Really, really significant for the drivers to get themselves at the pointy end of the grid. And they haven't got a long time to do it. Cars just coming through then onto their first flying lap. It's Andy McEwen here in the commentary box, not yet joined by Paul O'Neill, but he will be with us for the races later on for the Civic Cup, as well as all of our TCR UK action here this weekend. We're on the 2.2-mile Oulton Park Island circuit, 9 turns, 79 feet of elevation apparently. I could well believe it was more than that actually. This is a very, very undulating circuit with rises and falls between and indeed in the middle of most of the corners. It's a real driver's favourite though for that exact reason. The weather at the moment is pleasant, although not necessarily as advertised. We're expecting temperatures in the next hour or so to creep towards the high teens, but the weather forecast was calling for bright sunshine and temperatures well into the 20s. So actually that's probably a bit of a relief to the drivers, because racing cars can become very hot and uncomfortable places to spend any sort of time in, especially when you're working hard around such a physically demanding circuit as this one. And so actually these slightly cooler ambient temperatures probably coming as a welcome relief for the drivers who are barrelling up towards the top end of the circuit now for the first time at full qualifying speed here in this qualifying session. So we're watching here on the pictures a big moment for Will Redford coming out of Druid's Corner. Will Redford, an impressive rookie to the championship this year, was the Co-Old Sport driver of the day last time at Brands Hatch in the Dave Buki Kinetic Motorsport run and prepared car. Had a big wobble there through Druids. That delayed Alistair Camp in the number 1. Alistair Camp is the reigning champion, hence why he carries number 1 on the side of his car, and the pink, yellow and grey machine still manages to go provisionally to the top of the times, despite that moment ahead of him from Redford. A 1:36.351 then is the benchmark. Number 26, Morgan Bailey, goes second. Louis Hounsell, meanwhile, is going straight on down at the Hislop chicane. Louis Hounsell sitting third in the production championship coming into this weekend, and his first flying lap is going to be aborted benefited by an overrun at the Hislop chicane. As I said, we're on the Island circuit here at Oulton Park, so Ryan Bensley, we can see on the screens now, heading down into the Island hairpin, will turn sharp right before climbing steeply uphill over Hilltop. The car sort of merging over to the right-hand side of the road slightly as they crest the rise, and Ryan Bensley, sixth fastest after his first effort in the session. It's Camp from Bailey from Luff, the top three. Remember, Camp and Luff, numbers 1 and 72, are the joint championship leaders coming into this weekend. And those two cars are both in the mix in the early stages. Indeed, Alistair Camp really catching Ryan Bensley on this lap, actually, and using a nice little slipstream over Clay Hill. At the moment, that's benefiting him, but he might actually catch the number 14 car a bit too soon here. If he catches him through the middle of Druids, that's actually going to lose him a little bit of time. Not that Bensley is a slow driver by any means, but Alistair Camp is an extremely quick one, and Ryan does the sensible thing and pulls to the right-hand side of the road, lets Alistair through, and Alistair Camp then will continue on unimpeded on this lap. Will Redford there also dropping back behind Matt Luff and Dan Thackeray. Bit of a lock-up there for Luff in the black, yellow and silver area motorsport prepared car. The number 72 car will come across the line very shortly, where it will try to beat the new benchmark time set by Camp, a 1:35.5 now. He and Dan Thackeray both getting into the 35, so too does Morgan Bailey actually. George Out Williams jumps up into 4th place that time, with Luff not improving as much. He stays in 5th position. Jack Harding is 6th. Harvey Caton impressively there in 7th ahead of Rob Butler. Max Edmondson and Ryan Bensley rounding out the top 10 after 2 flying laps, but already having just done 2 flying laps, we're into the middle third of this 15-minute session. Just 9.5 minutes now to go on the clock, and so they don't have a lot of time here to be setting these lap times. As we watch Morgan Bailey, I can tell you that Dave Marshall just came through to set the fastest production time. The production car's listed red on your timing tower on the left of the live screen view, and he's just been beaten by Alfie Jenkins. Alfie Jenkins now half a second quicker than Dave Marshall, so Alfie Jenkins, the joint championship leader, goes to the top of the production class from Marshall second, and Hounsell was third in class, but he's been beaten now by Mark Hughes and Simon Welch. So Louis Hounsell, who of course had that overrun, didn't he? There he goes across the line now, and he does now split Jenkins and Marshall. So we've got the top 3 in production now, sitting in the top 3 positions in class, and Louis Hounsell only a 10.5 slower than Jenkins at the time. Being big moment there for Morgan Bailey coming out of Druids Corner. That's the trendy place to have a moment, it seems, in this session. And Morgan Bailey, as he came up right behind Ryan Bensley there, almost got it all wrong at one of the fastest, in fact it probably is the fastest corner on this island layout at Oulton Park. So down into Old Hall goes Alistair Camp, and he goes quicker again, a 1:35.466. Car number 1 then is now nearly 3/10 quicker than Morgan Bailey, who again, despite having that big moment, did improve on his previous best time to take second place from Dan Thackeray by 7/1000ths of a second. Very, very close indeed. Jordan Brennan, meanwhile, comes over the top of Deer Leap, and where is he sitting in the running order at the moment? He comes through and seems to be, 11th place for Brennan. That was an improvement in time, but not in position. Got a couple of cars in the pit lane. Looks like Will Redford and George Alp Williams, so 2 of our quicker drivers in the pits already, and that's not ideal in such a short session. They need to try and get back out there quickly, halfway through the session already, as we see Dave Marshall bouncing wide over the curbs through Old Hall Corner. But those that are in the pits now, this is not going according to plan. They really would have liked to have put in a slightly better banker lap so far, because if you look at Alp Williams, he's only 11th, and Redford only 15th. George Alp Williams does now head back out, and followed closely by the Kinetic Motorsport car of Redford as well. Meanwhile, back out on track, Dave Marshall was second in production, but Louis Hounsell has just gone to the class pole position now. Louis Hounsell, the youngster, 17th overall now with a 1:39.45. Only 4 seconds slower than Alistair Camp. So these production cars, they may be more production-based, they may be more affordable, but they're not that much slower, actually, even around a technically demanding circuit as this one. Within 4 seconds of the fastest time is Hounsell. That knocks Jenkins down to second, and it knocks Dave Marshall, who are watching out of Knickerbrook Corner now, the red FN2 Civic, the slightly newer shaped Honda Civic. He is down into 3rd place now within the class, chasing down number 71, which is the guest car for the Pro Alloys team. The very, very experienced Gary Preble, who does a lot of racing down south in the country. Club level motorsport, but a very, very good club racer is Gary, and a lot of success at places like Castle Combe, for example. And that's the car that was driven to a race win last time out by Ben Sharp. Got a car off at Ireland. That's Alfie Threlfall, who appears to be undamaged. He just bounced back onto the grass at the Ireland hairpin. The number 66 car just going over hilltop now, having just had a grassy moment, and number 66 currently sitting some way down the table, 19th fastest at the moment for Alfie Threlfall, not likely to improve, having been off the road at Ireland hairpin. So, just under 6 minutes to go then, still number 1 fastest with Jack Harding, now second. Jack Harding, number 43, didn't spot that, but he's jumped onto the front row of the grid within 1/10 of a second of Alistair Camp, and Jack Harding is going faster again in Sector 1. It's a personal best Sector 1 and a strong Sector 2 as well, so we need to keep an eye out for the black and red number 43 here of Jack Harding, who, as I said, has made the transition from MX-5s to Honda Civics this year, and with reasonable success at Brands Hatch. He's had limited testing ahead of this event, and Jack Harding, there he is at the back of that group, just coming down into Lodge Corner. He's got traffic there in a way, in that he's got Dan Thackeray right on his front bumper, but Thackeray is not a slow driver. Let's hope that didn't delay Jack then. His middle sector was okay. His first one was a personal best, and Jack Harding comes across the start-finish line to not challenge for pole position. A 1:35.7 is only a couple of tenths off his previous best, but I think he did lose a bit of time in traffic there at the end of the lap. We've got a car off at Cascades. That might be Mark Hughes, is it? Number... sorry, Ross Darlington, excuse me, number 20 is the one off at Cascades, and that's not a good place to go. George Alt Williams went off there in testing yesterday, and it's very, very bumpy on the grass on the exit of that second corner, and he actually got so much air that he hurt his back, did George, in the test session yesterday. He's out there again today, so he's obviously more or less in one piece, but it will rough you up a grassy excursion in Cascades corner. And Ross Darlington perhaps feeling the effects of that now as he limps back over hilltop, trying his best to stay out of everybody else's way. There goes Jack Harding now ahead of Thackeray. Got some quick drivers in that group, actually. You've got, as I mentioned, Harding and Thackeray, but also Matt Luff is there. Matt Luff is only 6th fastest, though, in this section, interestingly. So Matt Luff on the outside of row 3 as it stands, the joint points leader with Alistair Camp. Alistair Camp still on provisional pole and in the pit lane with 4 minutes left to go. So he's just about got time to go back out, which is exactly what he's doing now. In fact, 1 or 2, Max Edmondson heading out as well. While Simon Welch's car, I can see out of the window, is being pushed into its pit bay by some marshals. So I think Simon Welch is distinctively liveried, purple and white, number 76 car, might be suffering from some mechanical issues. So another set of laps about to be completed, although we're not now seeing quite as many personal best sectors. Will Redford just improved into the top 10. Remember, he had that early pit visit, so Will Redford, number 42, is now into 10th place. Jack Harding coming over Deer Leap. Has he been able to improve on this lap? The sectors would suggest not, and indeed his lap time is a slow one, so that was a lap where he backed off to try and get clean air, and now he's in clean air. This 43 car is going to push, so let's follow him round the lap if we can. Out of Old Hall Corner he goes, down into the avenue, and then the right-hand kink at Denton's, plunging downhill then into Cascades Corner, and Jack Harding will continue on his way with 3 minutes to go in the qualifying session. He'll get his first sector time in as they head down the Lakeside Straight, and that first sector is not a personal best, it's a 28.1, so a tenth or so off what he needs really in Sector 1. Number 70 making its way through, that's Owen Hillman. Spoke to Owen yesterday, another driver in only his 2nd season of racing anything, did a bit of karting, but moving up into the Civic Cup this year, the other Pro Alloys car, 2 brightest cars on the grid by a long stretch, and Owen Hillman, did he improve that time? He did not, stays in 18th place with no improvement to his time on that occasion. Will Redford is one of the few drivers inside the top dozen or so, improving in Sector 1 at least, but his middle sector is not an improvement, and a good second or more off what he needs to be doing, really. So not going to see any improvement from him. George Alt Williams, though, that's significant. George Alt Williams 3rd in the championship, 6th in the session now in the red and silver number 5 car. A 1:36.224 is his latest effort, just half a tenth slower than Rob Butler. So he'd like to try and find that half a tenth if he can on his next lap. And Rob Butler currently running a very strong 5th place. Rob started the season racing in TCR UK and made the move over into Civic Cup after the first couple of rounds, got a bit of damage at Donington Park, and so elected now to focus on a return to Civic Cup, where he's raced with some success in the past. Al Williams was 6th, he's now 7th though, because number 72, Matt Luff, in that big group of cars heading down the avenue, has just improved slightly. So Matt Luff into 6th spot, and that means you've got 3 of them now within half a tenth of each other. Butler on a 36.17, then a 36.20 for Luff, and a 36.22 for George Al Williams, 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. Dave Marshall down into Lodge Corner. Now, how is the production field looking? It's pretty close. It's Hounsell still on the pole position, 19th overall. He's got half a second in hand then over Dave Marshall, number 99, second in class, who is then nearly 3/10 up the road from Alfie Jenkins, number 754. And then he's got a couple of seconds over Mark Hughes. So those 3 really the class of the field in the production class at the moment. With less than a minute on the clock, I've just noticed Ross Darlington going back out on track. Now, he's no hope of getting round in time to start another flying lap, but having bounced over the grass at Cascades a few minutes ago, I spotted the team were checking over that white-green number 20 car, and I think they've just sent him out to double-check that everything's okay. Jordan Brennan here taking a very strange line out of the island hairpin, and the Little Wally-backed car is going worryingly slowly, actually, over Hilltop. Jordan Brennan had just improved on the previous lap to 13th. His first sector on the next lap wasn't anything really to write home about, but I wonder if he's just pushed a bit too hard into the island hairpin and drifted out a little bit wide at the apex. Ryan Bensley with a personal best in Sector 1, but the checkered flag is about to come out. This group of cars coming across the line will have time for one more lap. Are any of them improving? Yes, they are. Matt Luff again picks up another place now. So the number 72 car, which was second in the championship last year, moves into the top 5. The checkered flag is out now, though, and so everyone now has to finish the lap they're on. They are entitled to finish this lap, even though the time has ticked down to 0, but this will be the last lap they're able to finish. And the pit straight is an empty place. Everyone out on the other side of the circuit. I think Max Edmondson perhaps is about to burst into view. No, it's actually Morgan Bailey, that by the looks of it, who is sat 3rd at the moment. That was an outlap from the pit lane, so he's not going to improve, and indeed does stay in 3rd spot. Is anyone going to throw in a late improved lap time? Jordan Brennan, interestingly, finishes that lap, despite the fact he was going really slowly around it. Through goes Dave Marshall. He stays 20th overall. That's second in production, so Louis Hounsell's pole position in that class seems relatively safe. Ryan Bensley comes through and does manage to find an improvement. He goes 7th now, ahead of George Alp Williams, but the Welshman is on another lap, albeit not improving in either sectors 1 or 2 on that lap. So it looks like maybe 7th is where Bensley's going to, Alp Williams is going to stay, and indeed he comes through and does not improve on that lap. So now we just wait then really for the likes of Matt Luff, Alistair Camp and Jack Harding, who are all circulating together, to come through. And within the sectors, again, none of them going quicker than they have done previously, but they're pretty much on the money, pretty close to the speed they had on their earlier laps, especially Alistair Camp, who is very rapid in Sector 1. Here he comes, the number 1 car across the line. Can't improve though, so his pole position time for 1:35.466 looks as though it is going to stand, with Harding in 2nd place. Yes, he's seen the checkered flag as well now, so it is going to be number 1, Alistair Camp, the reigning champion, who holds on to the pole position then, and that's the 2nd event in a row that he's managed to start on pole. 1:35.466 is the lap time, 9/100ths of a second, less than a 10th clear of Jack Harding. What an impressive performance that was from Jack, the number 43 car, 2nd fastest. 3rd is number 26, Morgan Bailey. 4th, number 29, Dan Thackeray, and rounding out the top 5, number 72, Matt Luff. That's how the front runners look, and we'll get confirmation of that result momentarily, I'm sure. But it's this man, Alistair Camp, who is once again back on top, and the memories of a disappointing Cadwell Park season opener are now but a distant memory, actually, because he has been fairly unstoppable since then. 2 wins at Brands Hatch, like I said, which was sandwiched, or sandwiching a top 6 finish in race number 2, which is the reversed grid race. So he still managed to pick up some places from 10th on the grid there. And Alistair makes his way through the Knickerbrook complex now, hand out the window, waving at the marshals, and spectators gathered trackside. And he's going to be tough to beat, although those qualifying times would suggest not impossible, because Jack Harding very, very close to him, and then only a couple of tenths back was Morgan Bailey, who's been getting quicker and quicker, actually, as the season has gone on. Morgan 7th in the championship, has a win, in fact has a couple of wins to his credit, because he won the reversed grid race last time at Brands and won race 3 at Cadwell. So Morgan Bailey has race-winning potential for sure, and starts in third place on the grid then. And indeed, we've got the top 8 of them covered by 3/4 of a second, which is very, very little indeed. But Oulton Park is so important to get good track position. It's not the easiest of places to make overtakes. Not impossible, as we've seen in the past, but it's not the easiest place to do it. And so the closer you can start to the front of the grid, obviously, the best chance you're going to have of snatching a win or a podium. So here then is the provisional qualifying result. It's number 1, Alistair Camp on pole position from 43, Jack Harding in second, 26, Morgan Bailey in third, 29, Dan Thackeray is fourth, with number 72, Matt Luff in fifth position. Then it was 6th place for Rob Butler, 7th, Ryan Bensley, 8th, George Alp Williams, 9th for Harvey Caton, and Max Edmondson rounds out the top 10. In the qualifying session. That's an improvement actually on Brands Hatch for Max, who was struggling a little bit down in the southeast for our most recent round. Then in 11th place we have got the number 51 of Daniel McDonald, 12th for Will Redford, 13th Jordan Brennan, with Alfie Threlfall in 14th, and Gary Preble in 15th place. 16th place then for Cripps, 17th was Linsner, and 18th for Owen Hillman, with in 19th place the first of our production runners. Louis Hounsell, number 28, will have the production pole position, which he takes by nearly half a second over number 99 Dave Marshall in the red FN2. Third for Alfie Jakins, so significantly Hounsell there out-qualifying the 2 joint championship leaders, Jakins and Marshall, so they're kind of in reverse order, if you like, on the grid as far as their championship positions are concerned within production. Jakins then third in class, 4th for Hughes. Then you've got Jeff Oulton, who's actually a Cup class FN2. Jeff had a bit of a whoopsie yesterday when he went out on track and left the bonnet pins undone, and the bonnet smashed up into the windscreen, absolutely wrecked the front of the car, but they've got that fixed, thankfully, for today, while Simon Welch and Ross Darlington round out the runners. So Ross Darlington, having had that grassy moment, was unfortunately hampered quite significantly by that, because he only managed 20th, and he should be well inside the top 10. So the Civic Cup race for race 1 is coming up at 12:35, but the next action on track, from which you'll be hearing from myself and Paul O'Neill, will be at 11 o'clock, and that is the qualifying session for the TCR UK drivers. That qualifying session will be over 30 minutes, yes, 30 minutes, and we'll set the grid for the 2 races, or the first race, I should say, coming up later on for TCR UK, the 8th round of the championship. So TCR qualifying at 11, just after 12 for the Civic Cup, and then the first TCR race is at 1:30. 25 minutes the duration, the 8th round of the championship, and then likewise round 8 of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup coming up at 3:30. Race 2 for the TCR cars will be at 4:30, and that will be the reversed grid race. So the top 10 finishers from race 1 get reversed to form the grid for race 2, and then we'll do it all over again in a few weeks' time at Castle Combe. So that is it then from qualifying here for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Join us again for the race later on, and we'll have more on-track action here at Oulton Park very soon.
2, 1.
Very, very nice. Thank you, Andy. Quite an interesting qualifying, that one, mate. Alistair Camp, you, mate, got properly battered there, didn't you, by Jack Harding. Nearly had you, mate.
Yeah, when I come over the line, I seen what time I'd done on my dash, and I thought, that's quick. And then when I come over, it was like 0.01 or something. I was like, maybe it ain't that quick. And then obviously, you know yourself, you're just trying to go that bit more, because you want to see like 2s and 3s, so you got a bit of a cushion. And I came in the pits, and the lads were like, he set it pretty early on. Well, I did like 2 or 3 round that time, so I thought, well, we've got the time. And then I went out again, and once you take the edge off him, you push and you find a losing battle, really. So yeah, there was nothing more that we could really give, but really happy with it.
Talking about nothing else more that you could give, we're just talking off camera then, and how was the singing last night? Because you haven't got a voice left, mate. I mean, what were you singing about? What's going on?
Yeah, I think the only telly you'll see me on is this, because it won't be X Factor, that's for sure, because I haven't got the X Factor.
How is it looking for later on? Because you said to me, it's dead hot out there. It's actually, the ambient temperature is like 17 degrees. It's a worry, mate, that you've got the race. It's going to be well hotter.
Yeah, it is warm. I think it's just because you've only got your little hole in the perspex, and that's it. You've got no airflow coming in there, so no matter where we are, it always gets warm. Obviously, exhaust is there, you've got nothing to shield it or anything like that, so it's just so hot in the cars. But you obviously just got to deal with that while you're out there, and afterwards get your liquids down, you know where you go.
Keep hydrated. What about, we were here last year, I remember, very, very hot, probably hotter than it's going to be, but the brakes were something that we really were worrying about. Long pedal, no feel for the brakes. How do you think that's going to be?
I was talking to a driver yesterday, there's a few of us saying that, and I said the same, but I think it's hard because you want to be on the curves to be quick, but as soon as you hit the curves you get pad knock off. And the trouble is with here, once you get pad knock off, you got to bring your pedal back, but then it's not got enough time to cool them before it gets to the next corner. And I think that's what the problem. I don't think it's brakes as such. I think it's just got not enough cooling time. So like then, if I stay off the brakes, they're perfectly fine. As soon as you start trying to bring that pad back into it, you just got to basically stay off your curbs, and the better you'll be.
What's going to happen for this race then? Just try and get up the road. Harding's going to be hard, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be just one of them in a case to see where the first couple of laps pans out, and then if you can get a gap, get your head down and go. But if not, you do what's there, don't you? You've got to fight whatever's there. So at the end of the day, you try and plan your races, but it never goes to plan, does it?
I know that, mate, from there. Bit myself, but I never was a champ like you, lad. Listen, you crack on. I think Louis Hounslow, we just need to give him a shout out. Production class, here he is. Production class pole, get him on camera, check him out. Oh my God, I'm late. Adam's had to bring him along. Well, mate, it was a good effort from the youngster, wasn't it?
Hey, you even got VIP travelling. Look, I didn't get that.
That's because you're old, mate. Louis, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all right, yeah.
Oh, top man, my fave interviewee. That was all right. Where have you just been? Why have you had to run back?
I only done half the session and I got told to come back to paddock. I knew I had a really good lap, so I just pulled in and... Yeah.
I'll tell you now, he's not arrogant. No, he's just good, and he's actually telling you the truth. How was the lap for you? Because you're about 4/10 up the road, I think.
I went out like third to last car, and then I let them there were 2 cup cars, so I just let them pass, and then just had loads of space and just went for it. And I have to say a big thank you to my instructor from yesterday, Mark Wright. Helped me through yesterday and got the setup right, and yeah, got me a pole. So.
Top man. I think you got you on pole, mate, but it's nice to get a bit of help.
Yeah, it was good, yeah.
Race, what's going to happen?
I don't really know, because the start we might be on the hill, because we're so far back because of production. So I don't really know about that, but hopefully I can retain my lead and get the win.
Well, listen, you've got the pole. Unfortunately, mate, you're going to have to walk back now, so all that 200 foot up there, that's going to be a nightmare. Have a good one. I'll catch you in a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Top man. Sweet. Right, OK, we've got a live stream a bit later on, and we're going to have Civics, and we're going to have TCR. It's going to be amazing. Catch you in a bit. Peace out.